Yay! Hello, I'm Marnie Scarlet, and I'm very excited to be on the Burlesque Big Brother Big Sister project for Ask Me Anything. So, I am a performer, and I also make costumes, and I'm a latex wear designer. That's a little bit of an introduction. And I said to Miss Diva Hollywood, thank you very much for having me. I'd show some things that I've been working on. I look very, very yellow in this light. Damn, my hands even look yellow. This is one of my most recent creations. This is, how does the camera work? This is Haberdashery Addict. It's my latest project that I'm working on. It's got a little jacketina as well. It looks alive, doesn't it? Wow. Cool. So yeah, and then I've been sent loads and loads of questions. So I'm rambling a bit. I'm a bit nervous. So I will start with the first question from Trixie Blue. Hurrah! It's wonderful to have you. Hurrah! I'm happy to be here. I'd love to know what is my favorite act that I've created. Well, I've created many by now. I think in my 10 years in the biz, I've created 31 different acts. I can't really rate them as favorites because they're all so different. Some of them are, more fun to perform than others. I do like doing Rubber Dolly because I am a Rubber Dolly. I like Roadrunner and I like Elizabeth. It's more serious. Poison Ivy is always fun. Gold Dust is one of my oldest. It's also super, super fun. Also to create is different. Sometimes creating is fun, but performing is less fun. The Rubber Dolly overall hits the mark on many, and so does Roadrunner. So yay. Best piece of advice I've ever been given. I've been given many great pieces of advice. I'm not sure if I have a best one, or probably have lots of worse ones too. But just to keep your chin up, keep going, realize that not everybody's going to love you, but there'll always be someone that loves what you do and will support it. There will always be people behind you, and there will always be people giving you a hard time. So just keep your chin up, connect with your audience, connect with your own work, connect with what you're doing, because sometimes you can be making something, and I've done that before as well. You're making it, you're creating it, and you're like, it's not really me, and then just shelve it or bin it or work on it, but connect with it. The connection is the most valuable piece of advice. In one sentence, how would you sum up the burlesque fetish scene today? A vibrant, feisty, melting pot of joy that I'm very happy to be part of. Yeah, it's great. It's really great. There's many sentences you could describe it with. Have you had any embarrassing stories when being on stage? Yes. My music has stopped before, but you gotta keep going. You got to keep going. So no matter what you do, even if you're dead embarrassed, you better be dead embarrassed and walk off. That's the main thing. I've been on stage and not heard my music because the monitors faced outwards, and I've had to go boop up, and just hope stuff came off on time. And if it doesn't, and your music is still going, you keep going. If the music is finished, and you just have to mime along. Yeah. So I've had that. I've had people walk on stage through acts. I've had a Christmas tree, a huge Christmas tree, fall over during an act, and you kind of got to acknowledge it's happening, but combine it, make your character live that moment, and make it work for you somehow. And people will appreciate the fact that something has gone wrong, and they will, love you for the fact that you're rolling with it. So cool. Next question from the great Diva Hollywood. What advice would you give to a new performer starting out? Ask loads of questions, but appropriate questions. Do expect occasionally for people not to want to answer them, because not everybody has time. But if you don't ask, you don't get. Knows what you got. Yes, is what you can achieve. Try things out. Don't be afraid to fail, because nothing's going to be perfect at the first run. Just try and be fabulous, try and be unique. It's okay to be inspired, but don't copy. Everybody, and people, other artists will see when something's been a direct copy, or when this has gone, hey, I want to go on stage, I'll do that. Also, overcome your nerves, because it can be very nerve-wracking when you're new and you have to go on stage. Enjoy that moment, enjoy that, and again, connect with your audience. An audience will forgive you everything, even if you fall on your ass, as long as you connect with them, as long as you tell them a story, and even if that story's got a flaw in it, keep going. And also try to do something unique with your costume. Don't just put something easy on. And you can make stuff out of bin liners and gaffer tape, and you can make it look great. It doesn't have to cost a bunch. You can make something. You can super glue all sorts of stuff to stuff that doesn't have to cost a lot, but try and make something that's visually enticing, not just black pants and a black bra. I mean, some people look great in black pants and a black bra, but to be honest, if you're going to be a performer, even if you've got to put, I don't know, cotton wool felt balls on it, make it work, So, and then we have Celeste Petrovic. I hope I said your last name. Oh God, no, I didn't do all the Diva's first questions. Second question from Miss Diva. You have incredible makeup skills. What makeup top tip do you have, and what piece of makeup could you not do without? I could not do without my eyebrows. I've got my Rimmel waterproof eyeliner. It's got to be waterproof. I sweat a lot. So I sometimes use it as lip liner. The only thing with that is if you then try and take it off, it's still generally still there. Eyeshadow, can't do that. And so that's what we got. Mayron Clown Whites, very affordable and does the job, I think. So I use quite a lot of that, and I use a lot of Stargazer loose powder. I mean, with this light, it looks like it does look a little bit, but the loose powders from Stargazer are actually quite affordable and available on eBay and cheaper than Il Masquer or MAC. So you can be really messy with them. You can just smack it on and it won't cost you a bunch, and they're very vibrant, as you can see. A little bit too vibrant in this light. Question number 3 from Diva Hollywood. You have traveled all over the world. What place has been your favorite to perform? Again, difficult to say, but I'm very happy I made it to Japan. That was great. 5 days in Japan with Torture Garden. That was awesome, and we got taken round. We got taken, we got so that was a really nice job. And been to Vancouver. That was great. That was also a 4-day party central, so that was fabulous. But yeah, it's a real blessing and honor and amazing thing that as a performer you get to travel so much. And it's not always great. Sometimes you sit in another airport and you're waiting for your flight, which is 2 hours delayed, and you're wondering whether your luggage is ever going to turn up. But overall, I counted them recently. I've been to 15 different countries in the world in the last 10 years, which is absolutely incredible. I've been to places where I otherwise probably would have never gone. I've been to Tel Aviv, I've been to, Norway, Sweden, America, all sorts of amazing places. And I've had the good fortune to work with amazing people from all sorts of cultures. So you really, if you're lucky, it doesn't happen every journey, but you get to see the country from the inside as well. You stay with the people, you get met by the people. It's really incredible. Yeah, it's really incredible. Like I said, sometimes you do have to sit in an airport for 5-6 hours or chase after your luggage or argue with other people. But overall, it's all good. Yeah, that's fabulous. Cool. Now we move on to Celeste. And again, I hope it's anyway. My question is, when and how did you get the idea to start with your incredible costumes? I've always been making silly shit. When I was a kid, I used to make things out of toilet rolls, and I used to dress in boxes, and my mum used to save, rags and shit like that. I used to glue stuff No incidents that I ended up doing what I do, I think. So I just became a living in the end. So I've been very lucky with that. I mean, still, I'm a bit like a cat. If I see a big empty box, I still think, oh, I can make a dress out of that. I can wear that out. So yeah, but professionally, well, I've been making latex clothing for 25 years. And I've been making myself crazy costumes for at least as long. But about 10 years ago, I decided, let's take these crazy costumes to the stage because, it's, why not, right? Next level. So yeah, there we were. Cool. And then the next question is from Pinkety Boo. What a fabulous name. How long does it take for you to have an idea and then make the costume? And that really varies. I mean, at the moment I'm working on an act based on the Eraserhead films, and it's taken me a while. So yeah, it's been a bit of a delay. Sometimes it can take, literally, I can knock it out in a month. If I've got the idea, the music, the thing, bang, I can do it. Sometimes it can be 3 months. Sometimes things change in between. I'm making an act, and what does happen very often, I'll agree to perform the act without having the act ready. Secret, don't tell anyone, which I'm trying not to do anymore. But that means you've got to have it ready. You've got to hit the deadline, which is good. Some of my bigger costumes have taken a good 40 hours to make. Yeah, Rubber Dolly was about 35, I think. Roadrunner was about 40, I think. Queen of Hearts, definitely 40. Some smaller ones, like my banker, probably about 12 hours. But sometimes the concept changes halfway, and I'll have to ditch half of the stuff I've made. That's the problem. My ideas change in the middle. And then I have to, rejig and stuff like that. So, and also sometimes the costume is there, but I'm still looking for the right track or the right sound bite, or the sometimes it's just the ending. Sometimes the track, the whole thing is ready, but I'll have to spend another month thinking, what the fuck am I gonna end this business with? So, but generally it's on average about a couple of months, I think I can, from concept to finish. But yeah. And also, again, asked which was my favorite act I created. I don't have a firm favorite, but lots of favorites. But yeah, Rubber Dolly and Roadrunner are quite up there. I like creating Marilyn. Marilyn was a bit of a pain in the neck, but I did enjoy her. Cool. Then we have the great Domino DeVille. When you create an act, what usually comes first? Costume, music, or story? Now that also differs. I would say 70% of my act start with a theme. To be honest, it's a theme that I either like or like I love Alice in Wonderland, so I've got a March Hare twice. I've got a Queen of Hearts. I've got Jabberwocky. So I do start with a theme, or sometimes a story. Marilyn, I've got my Marilyn act. That's a story, a ready-made story. So that's pretty fixed. Some of them start with music. Gold Dust. I heard that song and I was like, yeah, that's mine. I'm gonna do something with that. But yeah, I would say a lot of them are based on a theme, a lot of, because I'll think, oh my God, and I'm still thinking we should do Mad Hatter as well. I mean, I'll have the whole Wonderland collection ready. Yeah, like I said, I'm currently working on an Eraser act. That's part story, I guess, because that's also set. That's although maybe I can tinker a little bit. Yeah, I would say the theme comes first most of the time. Right, Lauren Smith. What got me into performing? Again, I had a lot of outfits, a lot of outfits, and I used to go clubbing a lot, and I worked for companies that made quite theatrical clothing, so we'd have fashion shows that were quite theatrical, and myself and my colleagues would put these together, we'd have fun with it, and then it got to a certain point that I thought, oh my God, I've got a all these outfits and I've got all these ideas, and what if I don't give it a go? What's the worst that can happen? And to be honest, I thought I was going to just do it for a year because I thought how much effort and stuff I put in this, and it turned out to be so much fun, and it was really supported, and like none of it was perfect at the start, by the way, my first act, but you know, yeah, I just got so much joy out of it, and also it really stimulated me to make more outfits and do more things and tell more stories, and it gave me a real outlet for my work, I guess, rather than just the dance floor. And to be honest, my outfits are not that great to wear on the dance floor because they're really tiring and constricting. It's much better to wear them, you know, get ready, and then 5 minutes on the stage, hey, take them off. So yeah, so that's about 10 years ago now. 10-year anniversary this year, I think. So and also by Lauren Smith. Do you have a process you follow when it comes to costume design? No, not a set process. No, sometimes I just start with, like, sometimes like with the March hare. This obviously is the March hare, so yes, he's gonna look like the March hare. But sometimes I literally just chuck shit together. I'm probably the professional way. I probably didn't admit to that, but yeah, and sometimes it is a little bit more structured. A little bit of makeup on my yeah, so sometimes it is a bit more structured, but I, oddly enough, considering I am a designer for my work, my day work, and I obviously got to present my boss with work sketches. I never make sketches for my own costumes. I've got 0 sketches for my own work. I usually have an idea in my head, and sometimes it comes out as it was in my head, and sometimes it changes as the process goes on. This does mean that sometimes it goes bang, right? And sometimes it's like, okay, that looked nice in my head, but it's not working in real life. So I then, you know, need to adapt it. But it's a nice challenge, and I have no idea why I don't make sketches for my work. I probably should, but I can't be bothered. I just want to get on with it. So yeah, probably not the best costume teacher in that respect. Cool. John Celestis. If you were not a performer, what would you be? I would want to be Anna on a Muppet Show. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I'm not. When I was a kid, I wanted to become a puppeteer, which in a sense I am, perhaps, my own puppet. And but yeah, I would be working in costume or clothing. I am actually my muggle job, or my day job. I am a clothing designer for a company called Libidex. So I am a professional glue sniffer. I make rubber clothing and I glue rubber clothing together. So I have the good fortune to be a pattern cutter, a designer, and one of the sample makers on a wonderful team there. So yeah, and if I wasn't be doing that, I'd probably be working in another form of the rag trade somewhere, hopefully. Cool. And what are my top 4 artists that inspire me? Again, it's hard to make a top 4. I don't really like ranking people. I don't really, because people and artists provide different things that you find amazing. Things that do really inspire me. I get very inspired by art. One of the biggest inspirations of myself and my work for a long time has been Das Triadische Ballet by the Bauhaus movement. Not the band. The band's good too, but by Oskar Schlemmer, which was produced in 1922, and it's in color. And I would tell people, look it up on YouTube. It is amazing. Triadische Ballet. It's a ballet, and the costumes, the dresses. You can then see where the club kids from the 80s, the club kids from the 90s, the club kids from these days, where the influence is from. It's the source. It's the source. It's the source of everything. You can find where Lee Bowery got his stuff from, and all of his clan, his tribe. It's an amazing piece of work. Claude Cahun is an amazing artist, also from a similar era, also from 1920s, 1930s. The first gender bender, first born female, but I would say gender fluid person that took self-portraits and that used makeup to express herself in a very non-binary way. Very, very, very inspirational. Claude Kuhn, you've got to look her up too. She's absolutely amazing. But also loads of artists now on the cabaret scene. There's loads of amazing boys, girls, and everything in between that are very inspirational in their style, and they don't always have the same style as me. But sometimes I can look at somebody like Banbury Cross, and she performs in a way that I think, oh my God, look at her. It's just incredible. Or Lolo Brow or Abno Malik, the way they connect, the way they move, the way they use the expression in their body, in their style, the way they wear their costumes. It's a lot of people out there, both now and in history, but also in pop music. There's loads of great performers that that are great to watch, you know. So yeah, I get influenced by a lot of people and a lot of things, and I love to look at a lot of things. It's kind of good too, I think. So I hope that sort of answered it. It's a bit vague, but hey ho. Cool. Then we have Margaret. I'm gonna say your last name wrong. I'm so sorry. Ocasio Mac. I really hope I said that right. You wrote an absolutely lovely, lovely question. And the question was, I shall read it. One of the things I love about your act is incorporating fetishes. I usually have a hard time in act development classes when students come up with an idea that is, I start off as a nice girl and then reveal it's an BDSM outfit. I always ask them if they are part of said community. If they feel that it is telling their story or simply a cheap appropriation of something edgy that isn't them, bought in the hen party section of a gag store. I use your, and this goes on to say, she uses my act, okay, thank you, to show these ideas so you can be part of an act and enlightens them. Yes, you do have to have a connection with whatever you do, I think. If you're doing a fetish act, that's why perhaps certain fetishes, even if they're not my fetishes, I got to at least understand them and respect them. And I've been on the fetish and the BDSM scene for a very long time now. So I do have a great understanding and a great respect and a great love for people that explore their sexuality and they're also at one with it. And yeah, if you're not part of that scene and you're just doing it to be edgy, it can quite quickly look cheesy. I mean, the sort of 50 Shades of Grey BDSM act are really, it's, you know, it's more than a cat and eye tale. You know, and a lot of stuff in my acts are perhaps not necessarily fetish. There's just a lot of latex. But even if you do something saucy, you still gotta feel it. You still gotta own it. You still gotta understand it, at least. Even if it's not your own fetish, you gotta understand it. If you really don't understand it, then don't do it. Don't pick something else. You know, do an act about, I don't know, gardening or something. I'm sure there's a burlesque act for gardening out there that's going to be fabulous, you know, something like that. You know, indeed, I do agree that you have to have, and again, you don't need to wear latex for fetish acts. Obviously, that's easy for me to say because I make it, and it's easy for me to do, but you can make an amazing BDSM outfit out of ropes and gaffer tape. You really can. And you can, if you understand it and you've got a storyline, you can make that work, you know. Might hurt a bit though if you rip the gaffer tape off. But hey. And what is my way of hinting towards it in a respectful and enlightened way? I think, I don't know, just understanding it, I guess. Yeah. Cool. And she also goes on to say that she's a big fan of the way I mix drag techniques with burlesque, and I imagine that I get booked for all sorts of shows. And that I do. And what kind of shows do you most get booked for? And how is the collaboration between burlesque, drag, and variety shows in your community? There's a great overlap. I mean, go to a place like Torture Garden and they'll put on burlesque as much as they put on fetish. And I mean, you can find a hook hanging right next to an amazing burlesque show. And clubs like Antichrist, I mean, a pure burlesque club probably wouldn't have a hook suspension. But I do loads and loads of quite pure burlesque shows, and I mean, I am usually a little bit the wild card, but a lot of events do mix up, you know, because nobody wants to see 10 shows just a whipping, and nobody wants to see a show with 10 fan dances. You know, you want to see a bit of everything, and obviously there's certain shows that you take your wildest craziest thing along, and other shows you take something, you know, what the audience, you reckon the audience is going to be able to cope with. you know, you gotta be realistic about these things. But yeah, no, I've been very fortunate. I've been booked for literally all sorts, anything from rock shows to queer cabaret to like I said, straight burlesque shows, full on fetish extravaganzas, all sorts. I'm a lucky gal. Right, we have Steve Angstrom with a few questions. Cool. What sort of thing inspire you out if which sort of things can't read anymore? What sort of things inspire you from outside the world of performance? Loads of things. You can literally walk down the street. I love urban art. I really, really, that's why I love living in London. There's so many great art pieces. Sometimes they're this big by the side of the road. It's like a little rat or something. Or I saw a tiny little fireplace recently. It's amazing. Or you have these big, huge wall pieces. There's an artist called Sticks. He's got these stick huge and they're by the side of buildings. It's really incredible. Also, sometimes how street artists incorporate their environment into like trees, bits of buildings into their artwork and make it part of it. I also like people that knit around trees. I think it's totally incredible. I absolutely love it, and it's free for everyone. It's everyone, and it's gone. It's here today, gone tomorrow. That's kind of what I like about it too. So I find that quite inspirational. I find going to shows, anything from theatre to cabaret, very outside the world of performance. Inside the world of performance. Skip there. Yeah, art, history. History is a great source of inspiration. That's why I did an act about Queen Elizabeth I. History is always interesting. History is always something we should learn from, something we should acknowledge, something we should read up on, be aware of. Also, good costumes in history. Good costumes. Most phases of history. Even the Stone Age had a nice little furry merkin going on. So yeah, it's a good source of inspiration too. I love buildings, love looking at buildings. So again, good thing I live in London, lots of buildings there. And just spring colors around people, soundscapes. I love walking through London and people talking, you just hear the strangest things. So yes, what was the most recent things that inspired you? Well, I've been seeing the Dior exhibition. It was very good. Like my moustaches. Trying to fix my moustache. Know where I'm going with it. Dior exhibition, very good. Really enjoyed that. There's several films. I'm trying to remember what the hell I've seen of late that I really enjoyed. There's a bunch of books that I've read. Maya Angelou's books have been very inspirational to read on a personal level, not so much for performances, but to make yourself aware of things. Springing is really inspirational. Every morning I'm taking pictures of new trees with little flowers on it. It's great. Do you consciously brainstorm and curate ideas, or do they just bubble up from the deep in a mysterious and surprising way? Well, generally it's creative diarrhea. Generally, I just have ideas and I make them. That's why I have a lot of stuff that isn't really doing anything. This isn't not probably, camera's going the opposite way. This is probably beautiful, but probably never going to be an act. It's just something that I felt like making on an afternoon. Same with my little flower head. Yeah, we like him too. So often ideas do just bubble up and I just make them. Sometimes, yes, I do have to brainstorm. Sometimes there's a concrete idea that I really want to do, like my Marilyn act, and I have to brainstorm and I have to research and I have to find sound bites, or sometimes a creative idea will bubble up and I think, oh my god, this is a great idea, and then I'll know how to get going, but I don't know how to carry on. And in order to get it to the point where it's a good usable act or show or costume, I will actually need to put the hours in to do some brainstorming and to do some research as well. I mean, it's about 50-50. I mean, the ones that turn into acts generally start as a little seed, but go on, you know, having to be researched and also having to be balanced in a lot of ways. You know, if it's just a costume, like my fish costume, I made a kingfish the other day. That is just it's just a look. I mean, yeah, and that just bubbled in. If I ever want to turn that into an act, I'm probably going to have to take the whole thing inside out and make it a workable thing. And also I'm going to have to research a little bit as to what I'm going to do with it in the in aquatic terms, but who knows. Hey. Cool. Do you ever think this isn't what I intended to make, and what happens then? Yeah, that has happened. Sometimes it ends up in the bin, or it ends up being remade, or it ends up being half made on a shelf while I think about it, because I feel bad about taking it apart. And sometimes it turns out into something really good. I mean, I'm trying to remember which one it was now, but there's been a couple of acts that started one way and ended up being very, very different at the end. Really can't remember. Oh, Cinders. Yeah, Cinders ended up, which based on Cinderella, ended up being loads of fun, but different. And my emoji act as well. That was a bit of a struggle to put that one together. And the same, it gave me a lot of aggro, but we got there in the end. Can an act fail conceptually, and what does this mean? Yes, it can, and that means tears, loads of tears. And then you've got in the past, I've had a few acts that I've done and created, and they, you know, to be honest, weren't the best. And then you take a full whirl on stage, and the whole time you think this is not my best, and while you're doing it you think this is not my best, and then eventually they'll just end up on the shelf, usually decommissioned. I either pick them apart or make them into something. My first Queen of Hearts was very different, actually. I never made it to the stage, and I sat on that one. Didn't literally sit on that one, but thought about that one for a number of years, and then it became the current Queen of Hearts, which is one of my favorite ones to do, and it was actually a fun one to make in the end, but it was completely redesigned. I didn't even use one single piece from the old one. The old one has been used for photographs. I have used it for 2 or 3 photo shoots, because some of the costume pieces were quite fun, but it just wasn't the concept. And other yeah, sometimes I've got artworks that I've made that in the bin. And then there's another question from Steve is, if you are on a bill where you don't fit the audience and doesn't connect, how do you manage that moment? Oh my God, yes, that has happened a few times. Sometimes you need, that's why you kind of, before you agree to do a booking, newbies, I used to say yes to the opening of an envelope. So research who books you, because your booker might love what you do. They might be happy, willing, and ready to pay you really well for it. Then you've got to research and then make an educated decision whether you want to do it for the money, even though you're not right. Because I have done shows where I've turned up with my bestest act, but I wasn't right for the audience. It wasn't the sort of night that I should have performed at. And I've had a couple of nights. I've had ones that I was at a bar, and I think they expected a beautiful girl with beautiful breasts, this fashion on, and when I come in my asylum act with my hair like that, my face like that, and for me, the act went great. So, I mean, I hit all the targets and stuff, and there was 2 people in the back out of the 200 people in the bar that really enjoyed it. The other 200 people fucking hated it. It was like, I mean, I'm kind of, you know, at least nobody threw anything at me, but and I mean, you know, they weren't overly rude either, but it's like, whoa, it was just, to be honest, it was an achievement of sorts. I mean, you can't, you know, like, you know, at least it was a universal no. But the 2 people at the back, they really liked it. I ended up talking to them, had a lovely evening, and I felt my act went well. I didn't fuck up as such. I mean, I did everything I had to do. I just wasn't for them. I think it might have been a bit of an eye opener. And I mean, that's the thing in life, you know, there will always be people that love you, and there will always be people that hate you. You can't please everybody all of the time. But yeah, no, I've done nights in clubs as well, where you know you get a hot girl coming on, yeah, and then I come on, it's like, um, yeah, when the crowd's a little bit more mainstream. I mean, generally, even with mainstream audiences, you can usually, if you really try, you can win them over. But there's been nights where it just wasn't happening. And to be honest, as long as people don't, you know, get physical, I mean, sticks and stones and all that. I mean, you know, I've had all sorts of stuff said to me. I was at one night where everybody loved what I did and got in a cab to the next performance, and everybody hated what I did. And from everybody going, "Oh my God, you were great!" And I was just going, "Who brought the fucking clown in?" It's like, yep, better be Max. So you gotta laugh at it, really. But yeah, I mean, when you're on stage, I'm laughing at it now. But when you're on stage, it's kind of tough. It is kind of tough. It's it's challenging to say the least. But you know, it's good. Good, toughens you up. Cool. Then we have Kelly Palmer George, whose first question is, where do you start with your act creation? We've had a couple of times. My brace my brace just popped off. Where do you start with your act creations? I think we said that. Just rewind the tape. We go. I don't know. It's live, so you can't rewind the tape. Maybe you can rewind it when we're done. What advice would you give a newbie that wanted to get into fetish burlesque? Research fetish, but really research fetish. You know, there's old magazines called Atomate, there's old magazines called Skin 2, there's Marquee, there is plenty of websites out there. Some of them will open your eyes and show you things like you would have never dreamt. So don't just think fetish, ooh, latex. There's fetish a hell of a lot more than that. Look into the psychology of BDSM. Even if you're not that way inclined, I think you should. Go to a BDSM or fetish night, and I don't just mean, you know, Torchgun is fucking excellent, but I don't just mean Torchgun. Go to smaller nights as well, where you're more likely to see the real deal. I mean, at TG you do as well, but it's a lot more showcased, and I think you get a lot more with people who are truly into their fetishes when you go to a smaller night, more playful night. And I mean, you don't have to dive into the, well, you can dive straight into the dungeon, but you don't have to. I mean, these are very open-minded places. I mean, you're not going to be spanked or groped or anything if you don't consent. So if you are going to get into it, and also research aesthetics, research history, research with any act that you're going to do. Research your stuff. I mean, know your things, know what can be the ins and the outs, the yeses and the nos. I mean, don't just go, oh my God, blah is popular, I'm going to do blah, go headlong into it, and don't, because you're going to kick people against the shin. Likely, unless you pick a real soft subject that is not likely to happen. But if you're going to do anything that is either going to relate on a level of sexuality or politics or gender or race or anything like that, research the fuck out of it. You know, talk to people, see what's already been done. Again, see what are the yeses and what are the nos, and do research that. I have come across things, luckily not always on a bill like mine, where people haven't done that and they think they've done something nice, and it's actually kind of gone a bit like, you know, really, yeah, and talk to people. You know, like I said, most people are happy to talk back, so some people are not, and then just move along to the next person. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna scroll down. Let's see if I've got any more questions. I've got a funky mouse. Where's my, shit, I can't move my mouse now. Unless yeah, there we go. Yay, oh, what's the, yay, oh, lots of hellos. Hellos back. Scroll, scroll, scroll. What's the most memorable place you performed at? Lots of memorable places. Again, Japan was great. I'm trying to also think. Prague was lovely. We performed in a sort of palace type situation. That was lovely too. We did a film festival, the Cannes Film Festival, perhaps memorable for all the wrong reasons. Oh God, my memory's failing me these days. But yeah, lots of lovely, lovely, memorable places. Oh, thank you. Lots of lovely things. No, thank you. Oh, make my ear good. Try to scroll. I've got the worst mouse in the world. I might end up clicking on something I don't need to click on. My mouse got a mind of its own. If you did not live in London, where would you live? Oh God, I love London. Will never want to leave. Probably another big city. I love big cities. If I could, New York. I love New York too. I love a good cityscape. There ain't no place like London, though. I mean, it's got everything. And I mean, for all of its faults, for all of its flaws and its weaknesses, I love London. It's got the whole shebang. And I've traveled, as I said, quite a lot. The scene here on many levels, whether it's drag, burlesque, fetish, or just clubbing or bands, it's still the bomb, even though a lot of venues have closed. It's gentrifying. I mean, it's still more exciting than anywhere else in the world. I hate to say, everybody's out gentrified us. And I love the juxtaposition of old and new, and I love the chaos. Oh, can you show us anything you're working on? I'm working on lots of hats at the moment. See, there's my spirit animal. That's a version of it. And oh, got my special mask for. It's got lots of chicks on it. Be wearing that for Easter. Oops, the thing is in there. There you go. It's my look. So let me see if I can scroll down without my Pixie Tricks. Hello. What inspires you in terms of makeup and makeup techniques? I do love a good YouTube video. Oh my God. I'll never live up to that. I'm literally like, smack it on the face, girl. But Aurora Galore, watch her videos. They're so good. She's actually super funny with it as well. She does do the whole, like, you know, the brushes and stuff. But she's just great. Like, you know, sometimes follow her tip, but no, you know, I do what I do, I guess. As you can see in this harsh lights. But yeah, just any drag queens, clowns. I love a good clown. I mean, generally they're not very funny, but I like a good clown makeup though. Cool. Oh, thank you. Did I leave any? Oh, I saw those. Let me see. Any more questions? I'm trying to think what else I could possibly tell you. I've got 15 minutes left, you know. Has anybody got any more questions? Max has just poured me a glass of bubbly, so that's very nice of him. What other advice can I possibly give to people who start up? Talk to other performers, be kind to other performers. Also remember, as you know, the people that you meet on the way up are the people on the way that you meet on the way down. It's good to be kind. You don't need to be anybody's best friend, but it's good to be kind. You know, and if people generally don't deserve your kindness, then move along, but always start off polite. But to be fair, I mean, this is I've had friends that are not performers have asked me about, oh my God, you guys must get lots of like divas and stuff. It's an incredible scene. It's very warm, very welcoming, very open. I've not seen much diva behavior in myself, to be honest. I've when I first started, I was welcomed with open arms, more so than I expected. And even now, you know, you walk through the door and everybody is great. You know, sometimes you get changed in this a changing room the size of a shoebox, and everybody will make space, even if it means the first person will have to have their suitcase open, get their bits on, and then the next person, you know, it's all great. I've very, in the 10 years that I've done this, very rarely come across diva fits or stops or anything like that, and people talk things out and people do sort things out, and I'm sure there might be people that get on better than others, but overall it's been great. That's what I mean to newbies as well. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's a world full of wonderful people, you know, that that are there for you. You just got to put the hours in. Research as well, because that's one thing, newbies. Don't just out and out ask performers that you don't know so well for contacts, because people hate that. They hate that. If you want contacts, Facebook, Google are amazing platforms to find out about events, and generally through the event pages or the websites, you will find email addresses or names of the people that organize it. Even if it's not automatically obvious, look at the photos on the page and see who's tagged in him, you know, and email the people direct. Also see if that club is right for you. Go to these nights. Don't just email them. The one thing you have to do, if you wish to perform at a particular night, make sure you've been at least once or twice. I mean, obviously the ones abroad, but to be honest, the ones abroad, they will be the one that book you. They won't be the one that you'll be applying for. If you're going to apply for something, start local and go there. And then afterwards, if you enjoyed the show, you genuinely enjoyed the show and not just saying it because you want the gig, go up to the promoters. I'm sure, you know, they're rushed off their feet a lot of the time, so they might not have an hour to talk to you, but most of them are very approachable, and for you to say, hi, I loved your club, this was amazing, they'll be happy to receive that compliment and thank you for it. And then find out what their email address is and apply, rather than, indeed, you can ask performers, co-performers, a lot of stuff, but generally they're not too keen on just dishing out their contact books, because they often, including myself, have worked years to build these contacts up and often have put the hours in themselves. So, you know, whatever you want to get, put the legwork in. Also, it's much more satisfying that way. It really is. It really is. And yeah, sometimes a tip here and there. Ask and I will receive, I'm sure. Cool. Yay. Let me have a look if there's any more questions. I'm still dealing with my slightly wonky wobbly. Oh, what's the worst? What's the worst changing room you've ever been in? There's been a few. I've gotten changed with 3 other performers behind a curtain before, and that must have been great for the people in that room, because it must have been like just this moving curtain. It must have been a show all to itself. I've changed in a drinks cupboard before, with no toilet, a taped up toilet with to pee in a bucket. A French girl was like, pee in a bucket. Not in a bucket, in a bucket. So yeah, that was yeah. Generally, yeah, it is quite odd that sometimes there are some locations that literally have performers on either every week or sometimes every day, yet their changing room is generally the locker room for the staff, and is like, you know, as broad as this, and then has a load of locker rooms. And yeah, that can sometimes be a little bit challenging, but generally they'll always sort of work around it. But yeah, what you find sometimes abroad is that people still smoke in changing rooms, so that can be a challenge too. So yeah. Any more questions? Trying to think of what other fabulous anecdotes I could possibly tell you about my journey in the world of burlesque and cabaret. I'm still mystified about the amount of yellow I've got on my face today. Pack well when you travel or when you perform. Make sure you have everything. We all forget things at times, and then you have to improvise or rely on other performers to give you bits. Then your act becomes an improvisation. But never leave the house without gaffer tape. One of the best bits of advice I can give you. Always have a sewing kit, because you never know what's going to happen. In my case, I always have a little rubber repair kit with me as well. Um, yeah, a lot of performers, an eyelash glue, double-sided sticky tape. Even if you don't use it yourself, there's always a willing taker. Hairpins. I once arrived with a massive wig and 0 hairpins, and I managed to scrounge 3 bobby pins. The green one, the green one, that one. Fuck it. That one. Hey, that one. I brought that to a gig to wear and forgot the bobby pins. So make sure you have checklists. Also, if you have a lot of costumes, it's time to build up your repertoire. But say you also do a little bit of club work like myself, and you've got lots of extra lovely bits of costume, make sure that you store your set pieces together. And I've learned that now because that's one way of getting it all in the suitcase to your gig. So I have, as you can see up there, maybe, well, Tupperware boxes behind the minions with big stickers on them. So the Queen of Hearts has got 2 of those. Rubber Dolly's got 2 of those. Before that, it lived everywhere and it could take hours to find. So yeah, trying to keep your stuff together. And if, for example, you're having something dry cleaned or it's too big to fit in a Tupperware box, this is a good tip I got from Miss Dynamite. Put a note in the box that, you know, bring the feather fan or bring the blah that belongs to the act, whatever doesn't fit in the box. Make a note of what else belongs to the act so you don't forget it. Because indeed, I've got one act that has a big rubber cape that obviously doesn't fit in the box. And that's one of the pieces that I forgot and ended up having to do a 20-pound cab ride back to my house to go and pick it up. Because it's the whole, you know, 2-minute opening that I needed it for. And all I thought is like, thank God I'm not abroad. So yes, good tip from Miss Dynamite. Always put notes with your costumes if there's bits that you still need. Also, if your costume is broken, repair it straight away because you're not going to remember it a week from now. That's another thing that I've done. Yeah, something broke and I thought, oh, I can't be bothered to fix it. And the next week, the gig came along, and I'm like, oh, it's broken. And it required a bit more than just a little sticky patch. And then you just kind of got to wear it and hope it doesn't, you know, tear any further, or you just got to gaffer tape it together. That's why you've always got to bring gaffer tape. But yeah, if something breaks, fix it straight away. The same with an act. If you rehearsing at home, that's another tip for newbies. Rehearsing at home is very different to performing. You'll find that at home things might lie, things might go well, and then when you're on stage, some things just won't work. Fix those as soon as you can and replace them with something else or work on them. And always, 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 when you do a new act, rehearse in the costume. I always have at least 1 or 2 rehearsal sessions that can sometimes take up to 7 or 8 hours in the actual costume, because you've got to own the costume. You can't let the costume own you. And whenever I've just finished, especially the big ones like the Queen of Hearts or Roadrunner or Rubber Dolly or the Voodoo Queen, those costumes totally own me. When I first make them and I put them on, I'm you know, I'm only 5'2". They weigh me down, they cramp me in. I can't move. Whatever rehearsals I've done at home, those movements I can't do anymore because I'm now cinched in and about to die. So you've got to rehearse it with the costume, because also no matter how much you told yourself the zipper is here, the zipper is there, the buttons are there, when you rehearse it in the costume, you'll find that all of a sudden that zipper will get stuck on the bit underneath, or that this popper won't come off, or you should have done it on the left hand side, or maybe it will work the first time around. Maybe it will. Usually it won't. That's my experience. One of the first ever act I did was a balloon act, which I still do to this day, 99 lift balloons. And I'm like, yeah, what's the worst that can happen? Yeah, pop this on balloons, a nice rubber bikini, woo. I got stuck like a kitten in a ball of wool. It was like, wow. I got a lot of bookings on the back of it, but it was not your traditional, it's not what I had in mind. Let me put it that way. So even when you do a balloon pop, however awkward it is to have to practice it if you don't have much space, but do it though. Even if you've got to move all of the furniture aside, you know. Always practice, even if it's just once or twice, and even certain acts that I have that are big acts. Like say the Jabberwocky is a big act that is really enjoyable, but I don't do that one very often. In fact, I haven't done that one for a year. If I were to be booked for that one again, I would most definitely have to rehearse that in the outfit again, because I know exactly what are the things that would snag. And even though in my mind I think, oh yeah, no, certainly it's going to snag, yeah, you still got to practice the snag. So, yeah, waffling my hour. Have we got any more questions? Oh my god, as my luck is nearly. I was in Sweden. I did 2 gigs in Sweden, in Stockholm, with the Wilbergs, ex-Duomo. And I checked in my luggage, and I got my thing, my boarding card, and went behind customs, a little bit of shopping, then went through the passport control and realized it wasn't my name on the boarding card. It was somebody else. It was also somebody's name with an M, my Swedish name. And also my real last name is Breder. A similar sounding name, but it wasn't me. And the 2 tickets, one for each suitcase, also said her name on it, not mine. It's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. And I actually saw the flight number, and it was boarding, and I had to leg it to the other end. The Stockholm airport. It's quite big. I had to leg it. I'd just done 2 nights on the trot performing, and I managed to get there. I got the woman. I was like, that's not me. Your person on the other side is giving me the thing. And yeah. And luckily enough, I've got 2 giant red suitcases that are fairly distinct. I've managed to get them off. But if I hadn't, they were literally boarding the plane. If I would have, and I actually demanded to see them to take it off the plane, because it had 4 acts, and one of them was Queen of Hearts, and I'll never make that one again. It took me so many hours, and it cost me, I make my own costumes, but it cost me a hell of a lot of money in feathers and materials and everything. So dead of the act, gone. Plus, I don't really want to remake acts. They're gone. So, but yeah, it had 4 fairly popular acts in there. So yeah, it would have been very tragic. But thank God that didn't happen, because I'm not sure. It's one thing losing luggage and it has your tickets, because I've had that once as well, but it tends to turn up 24 hours later. You might miss your show, which in this case, when it once happened to me, I didn't, because I arrived the day before, so it all worked out in the wash. But it will arrive, they'll find it, because the barcode will match your boarding card. But in this case, my boarding card didn't have my name on it. It wasn't even going to the same country that I was supposed to go to. So yeah, it would have been, oh my God, it doesn't bear thinking about. Yay, Celeste. Is it possible to manage the makeup and the costume in a warm, hot venue? Only just about. I mean, I do sweat buckets in summer. I really do. It does look like I peed myself on occasion. It's a little puddle. I am quite good at sort of heat control, and I also have, the makeup tends to stay on quite well, at least up until the end of the act. Sometimes by the end of the act, it's a whole new a whole new ensemble. But yeah, there's been times that I've gone on stage and gone, yay, and it's like 2 water guns going off. I've done Lucha Britannia before, and people actually thought it was 2 water guns in the sleeve, and the guy looked like, and I'm thinking, you don't know, this is not water, mate. Although I eat healthy, so I might have gotten some vitamins out of that. Yeah, no, it is a challenge. I always have a little fan with me, and it was one time I forgot my little fan, and then he snatched around and got me a fan, so that was good. But yeah, no, it can be a real challenge. Cool. How many wives have gone into my amazing dress? About 15. I had to think about it. I forgot your last question. About 1,500 now in my face wipe dress. Yeah, about 4 years of collecting. I've stopped collecting them now because it takes 2 big bin liners to contain the face wipe dress, and it's taking up too much shelf space. So, it's not. I wouldn't say it's halted, but it's temporarily halted. So yeah, that one. Cool. Well, is there any more questions out there? It's 9 o'clock already. Don't know if anybody else wants to know anything or say Have I left any questions out? Shall I have a quick gander through my paperwork? Wah, wah, wah. Let me have a look. Oh, I forgot this one. Do you have a secret stash of costumes that were never born? I've got a secret stash of many costumes. Like I said, I think in my day I've created about 31 different acts. About 21 of those are still alive. I would still do those if they were booked. A bunch of them have been decommissioned. Because either I didn't like them anymore, they just weren't the highest quality. But aside from that, I love making. I love making shit. So yeah, I've got a lot of clothes that don't do anything. I've got Jesus, my Lord Jesus. He's up on a shelf and doesn't come off much. He might come out over Easter. I've got Kingfish. He's a fish, and that's all he is. These hoods that I've showed you before, they are just wonderful to wear. A lot of these, like the ones that I showed you earlier, to be honest, don't even wear them out. I literally make them, I wear them, I take a photo, dance around the house, and take them in a box. The sad life of costume. I could do a Toy Story film about all the poor costumes that never made it to stage. Never even made it out of the house. Never even got their own photo shoot. But yeah, no, I love making stuff. And yeah, sometimes it does get to the point. Sometimes some things I've given away. I had a tin soldier. I've given that away at an auction to rebuild the Resistance Gallery, because I really didn't want to do the act anymore. Parts of Room 101, an act that I had, I've given away, so I would never have to do it again. To a friend of mine that loves rubber, so she's very happy with that. And sometimes I take it apart and make something else out of it. Yeah. And most of the times I just save them. I save a lot of shit. I'm going to be in Hoarders one day. I'm going to be on TV, one of those reality TV shows. Instead of paper mache the houses up with magazines and shit, they'll have to dig me out of clumps of half decomposed rubber. I'll be like an old lady still in a little rubber top. Like that. Cool. Wow, lots of people joining still. Oh, that was yeah, Miss us in the house. Good to see you, Miss. Looking forward to seeing you Friday. That was asked already. I have a favorite act. I've got lots of favorite acts, but again, Rubber Dolly is kind of a signature act, I guess. And I do like my Roadrunner, because it's a good stomp along. And I like Queen Elizabeth as well. Yeah, Queen Liz. The first, not the second. Cool. Well, what do you say? Do we have more questions? Or are we going to do it time to take off the schmuck? Take off the moustache? Or don't know how you end these things. How do we say auf Wiedersehen, goodbye? Cool. Well, it is 9 o'clock. I think I've taken up all of my hour. So I am going to say adieu, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Oh, it's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure, and a great big thank you to Diva Hollywood for having me, and for all of you people that have tuned in and listened to me waffle on about myself and my acts and all the things I do. It's been a real honor and a real pleasure. Bye bye. Just hands.